Welcome to the House of Fi. At the House of Fi, we inspire and encourage families of all shapes and demographics to achieve financial independence. Here, we teach you to become debt-free, build wealth, and increase your income. We also share inspiring stories of others on the road to Fi, others who have made it to Fi, as well as some of our own perspective about this journey. If you're a family on the road to financial independence, we want you to know that financial independence is for everyone. We're glad you're here.
Hello, everyone. Before we get into the show, today's show is sponsored by our new workbook, Shut Up and Budget. We made this workbook for you and anyone else that you care about that is just ready to get down, get dirty, and get started working on their financial future. Stay tuned at the end of the show where you can learn more about how to get your hands on this workbook. Welcome back, House of Fi family. I am Wendy, and across the table is my better half, Curtis, my co-host. Hey, babe.
Hey, welcome.
So,
Sorry.
So you actually check some things off of the honey-do list today.
I got a few things done. I got the garage cleaned out, everything's situated for the garage sale that we have coming up. Also, I got my daughter's cabinets painted, and I'm about to put the hardware and put it back on by tonight.
You did something else yesterday. What did you do?
That was about it.
Oh, okay. I thought you did something.
No, I just been cleaning the house.
We did? We made burritos.
Oh, yeah. We cut up some potatoes. We cut up eggs. We cut up sausages, and we had cheese. And then I had some leftover refried beans that I made.
Right.
And we made about 40 breakfast burritos, and we put them in the refrigerator.
Right. And so we got the idea from watching the documentary Playing with Fire. And we thought, one of the struggles is breakfast and lunches for the kids and running out of food. And so what if we just do one bulk day of preparing something? Mm-hmm. And so we got everything. So just breaking down the pricing on it, we got the potatoes, which were $3. The eggs were $2. We already had the cheese, so that didn't cost anything. We already had the beans, that didn't cost anything. Tortillas ended up being about $3.50 total, yeah. And sausage was $6. So I think the total cost for everything that we made was about $15.50, and we made 40 burritos. So we got the cost down to I don't even know, but it was less than 50 cents.
It was. I mean, especially when you had to go through almost a box of cereal, that's going to run you about $5 or $6 plus the milk. And we drink almond milk, and that's a little bit.
Well, just so for the cereal, it's usually about $3.50, and then for the almond milk, it's depending on where I get it, between $2.50 and $3.
Yeah.
And it lasts 2 days.
Yeah.
These boys.
Oh, yeah. And we had to make sure we put some ground rules on these burritos. We have our oldest boy, Mike, which is in football right now. And he'll eat dinner, and then he'll have a snack, and then he'll have his late night dinner.
Yeah.
I caught him last night sneaking down into the kitchen trying to clean up the rest of the food. So I told him, stay away from the burritos.
So one other thing that we are going to make in bulk, either later this week or next week, is we're going to do pancakes.
Yes.
A big batch of pancakes.
100.
100?
Yeah, we got to do about 100 pancakes.
Let's see how long those last.
Okay.
All right. Well, we had a really awesome show on Wednesday with Doc Green from the What's Up Next podcast. I have to say that out of all of our episodes so far, I think this was one that was just really insightful and just left me thinking on the topics long after the show was over, talking about his childhood and entrepreneurship and the business ventures he began as a child and a young adult, and just thinking about those processes. And, as an adult, Doc is very inquisitive and asks questions. And, if you look back to his childhood, it's kind of the same thing. He wanted to do this baseball card business. Well, he figured out how to get the baseball cards and just ask questions. And even though his business failed, he learned all of these really cool skills, running that business. I couldn't believe it when he said he was cold calling.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, as an adult, I've had to cold call in my real estate business, and it's terrifying. But for a kid to make some cold calls and call these vendors and say, hey, will you buy something from me? I just thought that was super awesome. And, credit to his parents for creating an environment to encourage that sort of risk taking at a young age.
Yeah. He said it best. All of his risks were calculated. So he knew going in what the outcome was going to be if he had lost any type of money off of it. But it seemed like each time he took a calculated risk, it pretty much paid off for him for most part.
The other thing that it made me think of is our friend Alan Donegan from Pop-Up Business School. And he was in town maybe a couple months ago in April. And one of the things that he was talking about when we saw him, he talked to our local FI meetup group. And he was talking about when you have this idea, maybe there's this business that you want to create. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
No.
That you don't have to necessarily jump in 100%, because those risks are huge.
Yeah.
If you quit your job, the risk of this business succeeding or failing, has really humongous consequences. And so one of the things that Alan talked about in this presentation was doing mini experiments. And he gave two examples. I'll share my example and Curt can share his, but both of them really just hit home. So in the example that came to my mind, it was one of the attendees to one of his pop-up business schools. And the person was a chef and really wanted to create a catering business. But one, he didn't have any customers. So, they did a brainstorming session, and, Alan said, well, we're all going to be here all week. Why don't you see if anyone here would like lunch and take their orders? And he got all excited. He did it. He got all of these orders. But he came back to Alan. He said, you know what, Alan, I've got all these orders, but I don't have any money. I don't have any way to buy the food. I don't have any way to buy the containers to put the food in. I don't know what I'm going to do. So they brainstormed some more. And what Alan suggested was, well, why don't you see if they will prepay you for their lunch? And so he went back to the people and he got the money from the people for their lunch for the next day, and voila, problem is solved. And so it's just really doing it that way, doing just these little bite-sized experiments. It lessens the risk.
Yes.
I just thought that's what that brought to mind for me.
It really makes you think outside of the box when he has his presentations. His second one, and I'll make this one a little short, is that these two guys, they're about college age, and they wanted to start up a party bus, and they were going to go out, purchase the party bus, but they didn't have money. They're college age. They didn't really have that much money. And they sat down and brainstormed. They had a buddy that had a van, and they asked him to borrow it to see if they can get it started.
On the weekends.
Yeah, on the weekends. And it's just a short amount of time. There was no money invested in it. And they ended up doing the business, but overall, it just didn't turn out the way they liked it. I think they got a little bit of business, but
they had business, but I think they just found that it was just something that they didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
And so kind of the takeaway from that is that they conducted an experiment. But if they had done it the traditional way of getting a loan to get a van to start this business, they would have been 6 months down the road, decided that they didn't want to do this, but then they'd be strapped with debt.
Yeah.
So by doing these mini experiments of, finding ways to challenge your ideas and test your ideas and how you like it, you lessen your risk. Risk is good, but you should do it in the most
frugal way possible.
Yeah, frugal.
I'm always thinking about, if it doesn't cost us any money and we try it and we make money off of it, that's a good start. And then you just expand it from there. And especially with a lot of our guests that we have on, the biggest thing that I can really go back and see the common theme is they love what they're doing. Even if you are starting a business and it starts to take off, sometimes you do lose interest. Doc G said that, he was loving the art, but it just became paper to him after a while. Yeah. And once he started loving his job and loving what he does, it doesn't seem like work. And, that's one area that, I could take away from a lot of our guests, and the common theme is that they're loving what they're doing and they continue to do it, even though they're either working on their FI journey or they are at FI.
That's important. I fell out of love with my career.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the hardest things, is that it did not bring me joy anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what's been really cool about this podcast, is that I finally have just this excitement about what I am doing again. And I hadn't had that in a really long time. So I'm glad we're doing it together.
Yeah, I'm glad too.
The other thing, just to change gears just a little bit, the other thing, because it was just a really cool show and just made me think about a lot of things. I loved his transparency and how he was talking about how, they reached this position of financial independence, but there wasn't this, elation that they thought there was going to be. I think that's something that we all need to think about, is that, we have this goal out there and we chase it for so long, then you get to it, and how does it live up to your expectation? And so I think the lesson in all of that is that you have to do the things that bring you joy now. That financial independence is not about giving you joy, it's about giving you freedom. So do as much of the things that you can do now, create an identity now, spend time with your family now. And then financial independence later is just more about the choice.
Yes, you get to that point. That's the awesome part about right now. I mean, even though we're trying to get to FI, we're experimenting. We're seeing what we like. And I think we've only not liked a few things. Is that right? How to say it?
Yeah, no. And I think it's fun too. Like, I'm going to take it back to like the side hustles that I've been doing. So I've tried a lot of things. I tried Uber, I've tried Lyft, the plasma donations, Instacart, DoorDash, and a couple other things. And, I've tried some of them. Some of them are cool and I like them. And others like, that's just not for me.
Yeah.
That's kind of, to be 48 years old and trying new things, I think that's a really good mentality to have, is not to be afraid to try new things. We all live such a long life now that you could have 3 careers in your whole life. And so get out there and try stuff and see what makes you happy.
Yes, make that calculated risk.
Right. And that's the other kind of cool thing with all of these gig economies, is that for the most part, there's really no investment.
No.
Another, for instance, of that is we're having the Stephensons on, who do flea market flipper.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of those scenarios as well, where with zero investment, by finding a free chair and then flipping that and turning it into something else, that they've created this, inventory of $100,000.
Yeah.
And with zero, taking calculated risk, but taking action and not being afraid to try new things. Well, that is a wrap for this week. Thank you for listening to this bonus episode. We have something that we want to try out, but we're going to need your help. And that is, we want to do some more listener scenarios. So if you have something that you want feedback on or want some help running the numbers, we want to hear that. And you can leave that on our voicemail. If you want to be anonymous, you can let us know that too. You can message us on Facebook as well. We want to see if we can get some listener case studies, because the chances are, if you're in a situation, another one of our listeners is in the same situation and they can benefit from your experience.
Also, don't forget about Shut Up and Budget.
Shut Up and Budget is our new workbook that we have created. It's based upon the 7-step money challenge course that we offer for free on our website. So it's almost like a companion workbook for that, but you can do one or the other independently. It's got steps in there to lay a good money foundation for your future, but also to journal and track your progress, and some just really good information and steps for you in there. Now, the one of the final things that we want to just touch on is we are about halfway, well, more than halfway at this point, for the deadline for the PLUTUS nominations. PLUTUS nominations end on June 30th, and we would love it if you would support our show and what we're trying to accomplish here by nominating our show for the Best New Personal Finance Podcast. And you can find the link to do that on the website and in the show notes. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening.
We were glad you were here.